Iga Swiatek makes feelings clear on Aryna Sabalenka vs Nick Kyrgios after snubbing match. Iga Swiatek has had her say after rival and world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka lost to Nick Kyrgios in the battle of the sexes. Iga Swiatek has stated that women's tennis stands on its own after WTA number 1 Aryna Sabalenka faced Nick Kyrgios in a match billed as the Battle of the Sexes. Staged last week in the Coca-Cola Arena in Dubai, Sabalenka suffered a 6-3, 6-3 defeat to former Wimbledon finalist Kyrgios, and she's already called for a rematch. Sabalenka vs Kyrgios was the 4th official woman versus man tennis match given the Battle of the Sexes title. The contest used unique rules, with the court dimensions being 9% smaller on Sabalenka's side, while both players had just one serve each. But Swiatek claimed it was not needed to promote the women's game. In the most famous Battle of the Sexes staged in September 1973, Billie Jean King beat Bobby Riggs in 3 straight sets. And 6-time Grand Slam champion Swiatek believes Sabalenka and Kyrgios version beared no resemblance to the iconic clash. The world number 2 has a fierce rivalry with Sabalenka, but chose not to watch the Belarusian in action against Kyrgios, who has slipped outside of the world's top 600 following years of injury struggles. Speaking at the United Cup, a mixed-gender team tournament, Swiatek said, "No, I haven't watched because I don't watch stuff like that. I think for sure it attracted, a lot of attention. It was an entertainment, but I wouldn't say that had anything to do with, social change or any important topics. I think the name was just the same as the one from the Billie Jean King match in '73. That's it." Swiatek, who previously spent a total of 125 weeks as the WTA world number 1, believes that women's tennis doesn't need to be compared to the men's game. She continued, "There were no more similarities because I feel like women's tennis stands on its own right now. We have so many great athletes and great stories to present, we don't necessarily need to, compare to men's tennis. It's a totally different story. I think, honestly, there doesn't need to be any competition. I think actually events like this one, United Cup, brings tennis all together, and WTA fans and ATP fans can watch this event with so much excitement. Seeing also singles players that usually don't have space to play mixed doubles together, playing these kind of matches, I think this is actually what makes our sport much more interesting and better. So I haven't watched the match. I only know about how it looked like. But I think, it was for sure nice entertainment and an exo match between these two." World number 11 Belinda Bencic shared a similar sentiment. "My personal opinion is that it shouldn't have been called Battle of the Sexes, because that was something else. It was a nice exhibition," the 2020 Olympic champion said of Sabalenka's match against Kyrgios. Sabalenka, however, has already hit back at criticism of her exhibition match against Kyrgios. Speaking after she lost in Dubai last week, the 4-time major winner said, "I felt like we just brought more attention to our sport and I don't see how it can be bad, how you can talk negative about this. In modern tennis, the loudest moments don't always come from the racket. Sometimes they arrive in the form of silence, an unclicked, an absent handshake, a skipped seat in the player's box." When Iga Swiatek chose not to engage publicly with the Aryna Sabalenka vs Nick Kyrgios exhibition match, the tennis world leaned in. Not because a player owes the internet her attention, but because Swiatek has built a reputation for intentionality. When she speaks, or doesn't, it usually means something. The match itself was spectacle by design, power, provocation, and personality colliding under bright lights. Sabalenka, all thunder and fearless hitting, versus Kyrgios, tennis's lightning rod, equal parts genius and chaos. It was the kind of event that thrives on noise. And yet, somewhere beyond the floodlights, Swiatek's quiet absence became its own headline. The art of choosing quiet. Swiatek has never been one to chase the circus. Her public persona is deliberate, almost meditative, shaped by routines, books, playlists, and a deep respect for mental health. Where others lean into banter, she leans into balance. Where others fire off reactions, she pauses. So when fans noticed she had snubbed the match, no post, no comment, no reaction, it wasn't read as apathy. It was read as a statement, not a condemnation. not approval. Something subtler. Swiatek's feelings, if made clear at all, were clear in their restraint. In a sport increasingly addicted to viral moments, she opted out. That choice speaks to a philosophy. Tennis, for her, is not a performance of personality first. It's a discipline. Respect without applause. It would be a mistake to frame her silence as judgment of Sabalenka. Their rivalry has been fierce but professional, charged with respect even when it crackles with tension. Swiatek understands Sabalenka's power, both physical and symbolic. Aryna has earned her place at the top, reshaping the WTA with relentless aggression and emotional honesty. Swiatek's non-reaction doesn't diminish that. If anything, it reinforces a boundary. She doesn't need to narrate every chapter of her peers' stories to validate them. Respect can exist without applause. As for Kyrgios, the calculus changes. The Kyrgios effect. Nick Kyrgios is a paradox the sport can't solve. He draws eyes, sells tickets, and sparks debates that last longer than rallies. For some, he's the antidote to tennis's stiffness. For others, he's a disruption that overwhelms the game itself. Swiatek has never positioned herself as his opposite, but their values sit on different wavelengths. Where Kyrgios courts chaos, Swiatek cultivates control. Where he leans into spectacle, she seeks substance. Her silence after the match can be read as a refusal to amplify. Not out of disdain, but out of alignment. She chooses what she feeds, mentally, emotionally, publicly. Kyrgios thrives on oxygen. Swiatek withholds it. That doesn't make her cold. It makes her consistent. A different kind of leadership. Leadership in tennis doesn't always look like speeches or statements. Sometimes it looks like modeling a different way to exist in the same arena. Swiatek's feelings, made clear through absence, remind fans that athletes can opt out of the noise without opting out of relevance. She leads by example, by training quietly, competing fiercely, and protecting her inner world. In doing so, she offers an alternative script, especially powerful for young players watching. You don't have to perform outrage or enthusiasm on command. You don't have to react to everything. You can choose. The weight of expectations. Of course, silence invites projection. Fans fill the gaps with their own interpretations. Was she bored? Disapproving? Above it all? The truth is likely simpler. Swiatek has spoken often about energy management, how every choice, every interaction, costs something. Not engaging with the match may have been less about the players involved and more about conserving focus during a demanding season. In that light, her feelings aren't dramatic. They're practical.